My name is Kim Forchuk, and I am a wife and mother of two. So it wasn't easy to introduce myself because people would say, "How many kids do you have?" And that would just kind of stop me in my tracks. I'd get a lump in my throat and I'd be like, "Well, what do I say? Do I say that I'm a mother of one? I just have one, that I lost one?" Like I really dreaded that question. But I don't anymore, and I'll tell you why. It was right after my son passed away. I was back at work and we were at a big meeting, and the board of directors, I work for FCSS, Family and Community Support Services. So I work with families of children that are struggling very often, behavioral wise. And so that's what I do with my day job. And then the horses, and that is my private practice. But anyways, I was at work and we were introducing ourselves and going around the room, and I was just dreading for it to become my turn because I did not know what to say and I wanted to run out of the room. I really did. And thank goodness, one of the board members who I didn't know, and I didn't know his story, he introduced himself as having 5 kids, and he included the child that he'd lost, his son he'd lost earlier. And so 25 years later, he's still introducing himself as a father of 5. And therein, I had my answer. I knew that I would be introducing myself from that day forward as a mother of 2, because I realized death does not get to take that title away from me. I will always be his mom. He will always be my son. So yes, I am a mother of 2. So my talk today is called Held by the Herd. It is a nod to my horses and my equine facilitated wellness practice. Have anybody heard about what equine wellness? Does anybody know what that entails? Just put your hand up or nod if you know. Okay. Okay, a little bit. Okay. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of light on that. I'm also writing my first book. It's called Holding On to Let Go. It is my journey through my grief and how I found my way and how I helped my daughter find her way. And as a parent coach is what I do. It was kind of my way of helping my daughter raise my daughter through my own grief and through her grief of losing a sibling. So that is the story. But the underlying foundation or theme of that story is that relationships transcend death, because that was my experience after losing my son. So that is my book that's hopefully going to be coming out. I've set a little goal for myself for fall, so I'm hoping it's somewhere around there, maybe earlier, maybe. But I've got a goal, so I'm sticking to it. So that's going to be coming out. You guys will be the first to know once it does. So today my talk, as I said, is called Held by the Herd. My daughter Taylor is 26 years old, and my son Brett would be 29, coming 30 in May. And after he died, my husband Greg and I just really wanted our daughter Taylor to be happy. We just wanted things to go back to the way they were. But if you're familiar with grief, and I'm assuming you are because you're here, and that's definitely one of the reasons that Sharon is doing the work that she does, is that you've experienced that too. It's not an easy thing to do. So anyways, we were trying to make her happy. We just wanted her to be happy. And I was going around like a cruise director. If anybody's ever been on a cruise, the cruise director it's their job to make everybody happy and have a good time. And that was me. I reminded myself of the character Joy in the movie Inside Out, one of my favorite movies. If you've seen that movie, if you've got young children, if you haven't seen it, even if you don't have young children, I do recommend you see it. It was written by neuroscientists, and my understanding anyways is that it was. There is a character in the movie. It's a cartoon movie, but it's got this little girl who I would say about 9 years old. Her name is Riley, and she's got these little characters that live inside her head in the control center, so the executive function part of the brain. She's got these one is a character called fear, one is anger, one is sadness, and the other is joy. And Joy was at the helm of the control center, controlling everything so that Riley didn't feel the pain and sadness around. There was a move I think they had in their family. So this was Joy's job, was to keep everybody happy. And that was me. That was my job. But sadness just kind of, if you've seen the movie, sadness is the one who ended up saving the day. It wasn't Joy. It was sadness. And in this true in real life, it is through our sadness that we find the real joy. It's an interesting concept, because after we lose someone or we're experiencing grief, we run very often. Not everybody, but some of us run from it. We try to outrun the grief, but it just, and whether you're doing it by joy or whatever other emotion you're doing, it just kind of has its way of finding you. So we decided we were going to have a new focus. We were going to get horses. We decided. I had grown up with horses for 20 years of my first 20 years of my life, but then I met my husband Greg in high school, and we became a motocross family, which is what we did. And our son had a track out back, and with hills and jumps and all kinds of stuff. And after he passed away, we decided we were going to change our focus. We wanted to just think about something else. And so that was going to be horses, because my daughter had wanted a horse her whole life practically. And as I said, we were trying to make her happy. So we got a horse. And you can't just get one horse. You have to get more, because they're creatures of attachment. So you need buddy for them. So we got 3 horses. So there I was, trying to make everybody happy, and we got the horses. And I realized as I was working with the horses that what ended up happening was I couldn't outrun my grief. And you guys all know this. You no matter where you hide, there you are. And it found me. And actually, I think the horses kind of actually quickened all of the emotions, because they brought all of the emotions to the surface. All of the ones that I was trying to hide, they brought them up. And I realized, oh my goodness, I'm living in a state of fear. After my son passed away, I felt like Pigpen from the Peanuts gang, where, he had that cloud of dirt everywhere he went. That's what it felt like for me. This cloud of fear that just sort of clung over my head, or, this impending doom that, the other shoe might drop. And that was where I was. I hadn't realized that until I was with the horses. And I realized it because all of a sudden I was afraid of horses. Never in my life. I wanted to be a trick rider. My brothers were in the rodeo. We worked at a feedlot. We rounded up cattle on horses. That's what I did after school. I went out and took I rode. And all of a sudden now I'm afraid of horses. And so I realized this was the fear that the horses were bringing up to the surface so that I could deal with. So but there was one horse in particular, my mare. She's a blue roan, beautiful horse. Her name is Inky. She looks like she's been dipped in ink. And I was terrified of that horse. She was 1 year old when I got her. So green broke. No big deal. I broke my own horse, or trained my own horse, when I was a teenager. So to do it now, I was afraid to be in the pasture with this particular horse. And so I realized that, and I would say to her, I'm going to sell you. I'm not keeping you. Keep the other 2, but I'm not keeping you. I never told anybody else, but I told her. She knew. So I was really struggling with this. I decided to get a medium who did an animal intuitive. So she read my horses, and the first horse she read was Duke, my lead horse. He's my big black. If you ever seen the movie Black Beauty or read the book Black Beauty, that's him. He's a beautiful black horse. He's my lead horse, so he's got this calming sense about him. And the first thing she said about him was that he's a healer. He's come to heal. And I knew it. I had already felt that. I'd already experienced that, because we'd had the horses for several months before this. And he also said he really likes the apple flavored horse cookies, which is really interesting, because we used to give him apple flavored horse cookies, but he's what they call an easy keeper. So we had to take the cookies away. So he couldn't have any more cookies. But he was telling him through the meeting, he took the opportunity to let her know that, can I please have the cookies back? Which was, I thought, so adorable. We got him the cookies, just so you know. Then she read my buckskin, who, if you've seen the movie Spirit, he looks exactly like the main character in that movie Spirit. He's just a beautiful buckskin horse. And she said that he brings laughter. And that was so true. That is what Smyrny does. He's got your jacket as soon as you lay it down. He's always doing something that just makes you chuckle. So, and she said, but he misses his mom. And I got him when he was 2. So, and I didn't know. He misses his mom, and he took the opportunity to say he liked the fruit flavored little pellet horse cookies, which I never knew anything about. I've never seen those. The only ones we had were the apple flavored horse cookies. So I reached out to his previous owner, and I asked about his mom, and she said his mom was very ill, and he had to be taken as a weanling much earlier than he should have been, which would explain why he was missing his mom. And she said, and also, I asked what kind of horse treats did she give? And she said, I had these little fruit flavored pellets. And so there's some evidential mediumship for you. Like, right? Sharon's nodding. Yes. So then came Inky. And the intuitive said, she never mentioned anything about cookies, number one. She says, I came here to take this fear from you. I'm not going to try. I will take it. And this is my home, and this is where I will reside. I'd been schooled by my horse. I never again threatened to sell her because I knew she'd heard me clearly. Obviously, she was telling me in no uncertain terms. So I promptly after that went out to the pasture. I hugged Smyrny and I said, I get it, Smyrny. I know you miss her and I miss my son. And I felt like we had this bond from that moment. It's gonna make me cry because it felt to me like a little bit of a match made in heaven, right? He's missing my son, I'm missing my boy. And so very often I will go out there still to this day. It's been, 14 years where I'll just hold him and hug him and he'll just stay with me in that hug, hold me in that hug. Then Inky, I later had a dream of her actually, where I was in the pasture. She was thundering towards me, straight at me. And I thought, she's going to trample me. Like she's coming for me. Where was my thoughts? And then as soon as I thought that, I intuitively connected with her in the dream. And I heard, yes, I'm coming for you. But it wasn't to trample me. It was, I realized I had a choice. I could stand there and be frozen in my fear, or I could grab her mane and swing up on her back, just like they do in the Westerns, and ride through that fear together with her. She was coming for me to take me through it. And that dream changed everything for Inky and I. I realized I had been misunderstanding that mare for quite some time. So now her and I are like this. She has become the star of my equine facilitated wellness practice. She is she's a favorite, a crowd favorite, especially of those people who've spent their lives being misunderstood. They connect with her. Inky beats to her own drum to this day, which is why she scared me. But she challenged me and I rose to the occasion, and she did. She brought me through. I rode her. I rode all of my horses, and I'm not afraid to be. In fact, my I don't know what it's called, but when I stop my video here, you'll see the picture of me here with her. That's her. She's just gorgeous. So after that, I decided to go out and introduce my horses online on my website, kimforchuk.com. And I was going to do a video. I introduced my horses and I said, welcome to my healing center. And then I thought, oh man, no, I'm not going to post that because I don't have a healing center. I don't. I'm just out here standing with the horses. And then I realized afterwards, you know what? Healing centers don't have to have four walls and a roof. Some of the best healing centers are out in nature. So yes, I do have a healing center. And from that is where my idea to share the horses and what I was experiencing with other people, that was where it was from. So I became certified in equine facilitated wellness and started working with other people and sharing the experiences with other people. What surprised me the most was not what was happening on the ground. So because I used to think that horses were for riding and chasing cattle and doing all of that kind of stuff. But I realized that on the ground, I ended up having this deeper connection with my horses that I'd ever had in my life. And it was from being on the ground and working with them on the ground. So their horses are very sensitive. They're incredibly in tuned to, because they're prey animal, they're in tune to our the tension that we hold in our body, to our breathing, to our nervous state. That's why they're so good for this type of work, because they are a prey animal. If a horse in the herd is unwell, whether it's physically or if they're mentally struggling, anxious, what the other herd members will often do is they'll come close to them, stand near them, they'll lower their head, they'll breathe with that other horse, they'll stay there for an extended period of time. So in essence, they're making space. They're not trying to fix. They're not trying to teach. They're just there, which is what so many of us need in our lives, is just having somebody there. When people would come to the house after Brett passed away, they would say, I don't know what to say. And I'd say, you know what? You don't have to say anything. You just being here. That meant everything. So I one day I want to tell this story because it's my husband was not a horse person. He's a motocross person. I managed to get him on a horse once, but he got off as quickly as he got on. That's it. So he's not a horse person. But he didn't have the fear that I had, because for whatever reason that wasn't his thing. But he didn't really do anything with the horses, and he too was also running from his grief. He was working day in and day out. He worked every single day without like 7 days a week, because he's self-employed. So he could, and that is how he was dealing with his grief. So to see him sit and be still was sort of an unheard of. But one day I looked out the window, and there he was sitting on Brett's jump in the pasture, just sitting there. And he had a cigar, and he doesn't smoke, and he doesn't smoke cigars either. He had a cigar, and he was sitting there on the jump. And this was when he's heavy in grief. And around him was my 3 horses. Their heads were low. Some were grazing, some were just beside him. And they were with him. The whole time that he sat there, they were there with him. They didn't try to fix it for him. They were just there. And so what happens when we're with horses is that if the horse is breathing, we tend to match their breath. The horse relaxes, we relax, and our thoughts calm down. So in that moment, what happens is you experience regulation, which for some of us might be the first time you feel that in a very long time. So in essence, he was being held by the herd, which is the name of my talk. I'd like to end with an offering, if I may, if you feel comfortable. I'd like to offer a small moment of noticing, just as the horses do. I can't bring my horses here. I did put this lovely piece here. This is a young colt, a little unsure, and this other horse is coming in and nurturing. So this is my way of bringing my horses to you. So if you're comfortable, I'd like to offer a moment of noticing, just like horses do. So they don't ask us to feel anything different. They just notice. If it feels comfortable for you, you might simply notice where your body is being held right now. Maybe it's the chair beneath you. Maybe it's the floor supporting your feet. Maybe it's the rhythm of your breath, just as it is. You might notice where your body feels supported, or where it feels a little tense, or even where it feels neutral. And however it's feeling, however you're feeling, is okay. There's nothing you need to do with what you notice, nothing to fix, nothing to figure out. If your mind wanders, that's okay. If emotions show up, that's okay too. You don't have to push them away. Horses don't rush us past what's here. They stay. And we can do that as well, just for a moment. You might simply let yourself stay just exactly how you are. Thank you.